Okay folks, this is my Night Tanker Rendezvous brief. Put your pens and pencils down and listen up. Reference the chart. This is our op area for tonight. Hamilton Range is closed for the evening, so you won't need to check in with Banker. After takeoff, switch directly to our tanker frequency on button 8, 276.1. Again, looking at the chart, here is where we are now, Tonopah Test Range Airfield. Our tanker is a KC-130, whose pattern is located nearly overhead or slightly east of the field. See the arrow. Other squadrons are training tonight as well on other tankers, so make sure you rendezvous on the correct tanker. Here is your information. Texaco 1-1, TACAN channel 14 X-ray, altitude 14K, airspeed 260 knots, and as previously mentioned, button 8, 276.1. Call ahead and verify tanker altitude and airspeed. Always join on the tanker's left side and depart from the tanker's right side. If a running rendezvous develops, approach with about 200 feet of left sidestep. Intercept a 30 to 45 degree bearing line and join in the left cruise position. If a CV or turning rendezvous develops, intercept the same bearing line and proceed to the same left cruise position. Closure can be tricky. In a running rendezvous, it is straightforward. Whatever speed you have above the tanker speed is your closure speed. However, as you initially approach the tanker, it can be from any angle. It could be 90 degrees off, so your closure will be your own airspeed. Of course, if the tanker is coming directly at you, add the tanker's airspeed to your own. All are quite different. Stay ahead of this. Your probe's physical limits are 300 knots or less during extension or retraction operations. When the probe is fully extended, the limit is 400 knots. Tonight, it is unlikely that any other traffic will be on our tanker, but that will not always be the case. Treat every rendezvous as if someone else is already on the tanker or is in the process of joining. Other folks can join on the wrong tanker as well. Stay heads up. You should approach the tanker with about 500 feet of step down, just in case you come in too hot. The internal wing inhibit switch is located outside the left throttle, which is okay. This switch is not used routinely. This switch is used to inhibit flow to and from the internal wing tanks. By the time you are below 9,600 pounds internal, your wing tanks are dry. You might use this switch if you suffer damage to one or both your wings. Tonight, each aircraft will take 2,000 pounds all internal. We all have centerline tanks. By the time you approach the tanker, your centerline should have finished transferring. Once this is complete, move the external tank's center switch from normal to stop. That will prevent fuel from entering the centerline tank. To force transfer from all external tanks, when normal transfer has failed, place either external tank's switch to override. Under these conditions, if you do not want to transfer from either wing or center tanks, place that external tank switch to stop.
Okay folks, welcome to my Night Tanker Rendezvous video. I'm currently heading southwest away from the field and away from the pattern, and I'm going to check in here shortly, but let's just show you what I've got. I've got air-to-air, master arm is off. I've got the TACAN 14 X-ray in there, which is the tanker, and the tanker is behind me here. Fuel system page is set up. My tank is now transferred, so I'm going to come down here and select stop on the center tank so that I won't take any fuel when I finally get it. And I guess I'm going to start heading in that direction, start the turn, and that's just because of the switch I just threw. Okay, on the radar, I've got a 40-mile scale, 2-bar, and that should be plenty to pick up the tanker here at 14. And we all should see the other tankers and probably the AWACS here now and then. There's some other airplanes airborne, we'll see a few. And just using the new heads-up display, our HMD, we see we have a contact over there, and that looks, that's it, 14.8. Who knows if that could be our tanker. There's a bunch of airplanes over there. So you can see this is kind of nice, kind of points out where traffic is, which is really kind of good. Kind of see if there's any around here. Okay, looking at we're now about 90 degrees, so I'm going to go ahead and make a call, let them know we're coming. And we're on button 8, approaching for refuel. Okay, tanker's at 14, 260 on the airspeed, which is what we expected. And obviously he's answering on that freak, so that's good. We've got him on the tack end, so it looks like all our data was good. And as we come around, we're going to start closing. So we're about 44 miles away, and we just want to sort of determine where the tanker is in the pattern so we can kind of plan our rendezvous. So let's just take a look. Okay, he's about 44 miles, 42 miles away, so I've got a 40-mile scale, so he's off scale. So none of those contacts are my tanker. Let's just go ahead and take a look. So we're over on the thing. So this the one that's most likely it would be this one here, and that's 11 miles. That's 18. Those are the two tankers. That's 6.6. Not sure who that is. Maybe one of the other airplanes. And of course, that's the AWACS there. And he's up higher outside the band that I've got selected for the radar antenna. Okay, so let's see if we can find him. We've got 40 miles scale, and he is 36. So he should be on scale now, and I'm thinking that's it, so let's go up there and take a look. Yep, that's him. So I'm going to lock him up. So now we have a box on the HUD, which helps determine where he is. And when we look down at the MPCD, we've got a little star. And it's kind of hard to tell. We've got two people there, so it's kind of hard to tell which way he's heading. But if I just fly directly at him, that should tell us. And right now, according to my lockup, looks like he's coming at us, turning south. So it looks like he's coming out of a turn, which means we're going to be on the outside of his turn. So we're going to want to cross to the other side. We got 26 miles to go, and he's got a 30-mile leg to get to the southern part of the pattern. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Okay, and you can see our closure down there is about 540 knots, 24 miles, so I'm comfortable with that at the moment, especially since his vector is now pretty much going to be maybe getting ahead of us a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and lead. And as we get a little closer, I may lag him a little bit just to move to the other side. And of course, one of the things we put out in the brief was you always want to keep abreast of other traffic that might be in the area. And let's see, we got, there's somebody down low, not a big deal. Somebody out there at 26, and somebody at 14. So there is somebody else at 14, so we have to watch out for this guy there. And we're well below our altitude, so that we're okay with that. I am going to shrink my radar scope so I can get a good picture of him. We're still 15 miles away. We got 460 miles knots of closure. Okay, you can see his vector is still coming around as we develop a little bit of lag. So I don't have lag pursuit. I've got a little bit of lead pursuit because I got my nose out in front of him, but it's not really far enough to gain much. Still a lot of closure. We're down to 11 miles. And I'm going to start climbing up a little bit here to get back up to a decent altitude. I think I'm going to go to 13 because sometimes these tankers are at lower altitude. So instead of 13.5, I'm going to try to hang around 13 if I can hopefully maintain that. And you can see his vector is still coming around the clock. He's up around 2 o'clock now. And one thing about locking somebody up when you're doing a friendly up like this tanker, you don't want to radiate in with your radar. So at about a half mile, about the time the lights on the tanker come on, you want to unlock them and then use the lights for the remaining portion of the rendezvous. Now this is going to turn out to be pretty much a running rendezvous, maybe a running/turning rendezvous if he gets to the end of the 30-mile run before we get aboard. So I'm going to eventually be sliding a little bit to the inside of his turn. Right now he's just heading kind of down about a 13140. Not sure what the exact heading is for this orientation, but we're getting there. Closure has dropped off to about 270, and we're down to about 4 miles, so we're going to have to start watching that a little bit closer now. Okay, still climbing up a little bit to get closer to 13. And we're almost a running rendezvous. So I'm going to just slide over here almost directly at him. 2¼ miles, 248 knots. I'm going to start slowing down a little bit. Try to control my closure a little bit better. Here's 1.9, a little less than 2 miles. And our closure's down to 170 knots, still dropping off. Here's 1.5 miles. Okay, still slowing down. And we're down to about 1 mile now. And so I'm looking, as this part of the running rendezvous, I want to be about 200 feet or so approximately to his left. And looking for other traffic again. Down to 70 knots at 0.7. Pretty much coming up on 0.5. So let's get, I don't want to be much more than about 50 knots closure at this point. And I don't want to be there. And I've got 13.3, so my altitude is looking through. There's the lights. And trying to unlock this guy. Come on, unlock. There we go. Okay. And I still have some closure here. And we'll just pull it back a little bit more. .2 miles on the TACAN and 30 miles. So I can start to see the planned form of the C-130. And we're down to about 10 knots of closure, which is good. So that's about how you want to come up on them. And I'm almost in a good cruise position, so I probably was a little close, but it worked out fine. And just take a look over there to make sure I don't have any other traffic. And I'm going to slide over to the basket position. And I'm below 200 or 300, so I can turn on my probe and extend it. And now I just want to trim up real nice. And when I'm ready, I'll just let them know I'm ready. Okay, ready pre-contact. Okay, and now I just want to get that he's starting to turn now, so let's just let it settle down a little bit here before we start moving in. And I want to get up just a little bit right about there and use my peripheral vision and just sort of walk the throttles up very slowly to get some closure coming. And just make it easy, just easy. Easy. Okay, and then just move it in. Okay, and I want to get 2,000 pounds. And so let's just take a quick peek. There's 74, so I'm going to go to about 9,000, about 9,200. And we'll check to see if we got any fuel in our tank. I already had that switch thrown, I think. So I think we should be good with that. Okay. $92. Stop refuel. Okay. And taking a look down there, and it looks like we didn't get any fuel in the external. And you want to keep the light on while you cross to the other side so you can see the tanker, because if you'll notice, he turned out his lights. And once you're on the other side, he's kind of hard to see, but you can close your probe. And remember, once it's in motion, you have to be 300 knots or lower, and once it's stashed, which it is now, you're unrestricted. And that's pretty much it, folks.